Welcome to the webinar series on the North Texas Area United Way School Readiness Systems Change Project. My name is Trish Dillman, and I will be your moderator for this webinar. I will provide an overview of the Race for the Stars, professional development, and early intervention pieces in the Early Childhood Framework. The mission statement for Race for the Stars, as given by the Early Childhood Committee, is to increase the quality of childcare and to decrease the education gap among low-income and minority children. The next couple of slides are intended to give you a brief history of how we got to the point we now find ourselves. Currently, there are 5 existing Race for the Stars providers. The 3 pilot sites are Children Come First and both the Youth YMCA and Family YMCA. The 2 newest sites are Overcoming Word Children's Center and Perfected Praise Children's Center. Funding for these 5 Race for the Stars participants was made possible by a 2-year grant from the Perkins Prothrow Foundation. The RFA, or Request for Application process for the sites selected through the Pretty Foundation School Readiness Grant will be issued in November. The process for all RFAs includes a meeting that is recommended for all sites to attend who are considering applying for Race for the Stars. At this meeting, a description of the program and a training on the application process will be given. After the application deadline has passed, the sites will be selected by an early childhood subcommittee of the Education Council. The selection and notification process will occur in December of this year. The Early Childhood Quality Rating Improvement System, or QRIS, consists of 5 key components. After a site becomes a participant in Race for the Stars, the site and each classroom in the site will receive an assessment, incentives, be placed on a 5-star rating system, begin receiving technical assistance, and be offered specific professional development opportunities. Each of these 5 components will be discussed in the following slides. A partnership is formalized and a memorandum of understanding is signed with each Race for the Stars site. Directors are asked to fill out a self-assessment of their facility. United Way contracts with an outside evaluator to do a site visit, and depending upon the age of the children in the classroom, will either do the ITERS, which is the Infant and Toddler Environmental Rating Scale, or the ECHRS, the Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale. These 2 documents concentrate mainly on the environment of the classroom. Each teacher is also assessed with the Arnett Childgiver Interaction Screening, which indicates the way a teacher interacts with the children in his or her class. These are scheduled visits for a minimum of a half day. However, the observer may return for subsequent observations in order to observe all areas that are included in the instrument. The observer must actually see each of the actions listed in each area to be able to give credit. Each site gets a pre-assessment upon being selected and a post-assessment after being in the program a year. With the collaboration of the assessor, coach, and director of the site, an improvement plan is developed for the facility. The coach also works with each teacher to develop an improvement plan and prioritize the areas of most need. This plan is then monitored weekly as the coach is on site and in the teachers' classrooms. A monthly review will be done with the coach and administration of both the child care facility and representatives of United Way. The way incentives have been given in the Prothrow Grant and the way they will be given in the Pretty Grant are a bit different. However, the child care sites will all have been incentivized for being willing to improve the quality of their child care. The initial incentive for the Prothrow Grant was $1,500. This money could be used for anything that was needed in the facility, whether it was a safety or licensing concern, or being proactive and purchasing something that they felt would end up on the improvement plan. Please notice that Bullet A explains that in the Pretty Grant, each center will receive an initial incentive based on the star level at which they enter Race for the Stars. It is estimated that this will amount to an average incentive of $2,100. Each center in the Prothrow Grant received $3,500 to defray costs for implementing or changing anything listed on the improvement plan made after the assessments. Bullet B refers to subsidy reimbursements in the grant. These funds will be given after the assessments are complete, a star level is assigned, and the improvement plans are made. This amount is based on the number of children receiving subsidies or are in the facility due to a compassion situation. There is an annual enhancement award of $2,000 for a center in either grant if they have increased their level of quality during a 12-month period. Each center in both the Prothrow and Pretty Grants will receive $1,000 for engaging families in the education of their child. This is to be paid to the centers in quarterly payments. The retention bonus is a way to reward a child care giver for completing a year in the same child care center. Site directors and early childhood representatives from United Way will devise a uniform procedure for determining how much each teacher will get. A part of the amount will be based on improvements made due to professional and on-staff site development, individual study, and parent engagement. The third component of the QRIS is the rating system that places each participating child care site in one of the star levels. The 5-star rating system begins with basic minimum licensing standards and adds an extra layer of improvements as a facility moves up the levels. There's actually a 5-star plus level, which is the ultimate goal and means the site met all the requirements for level 5, but has also gone an extra step and become a NACE accredited facility. As you can see by the slide, to be on star level 1, a facility basically has to meet licensing standards. The committee also felt that a director must be willing to complete a self-assessment. Star level 2 adds a different dimension. To go to this level from minimum standards takes a lot of work and it takes funding. The legislation recently passed raised the number of required hours from 20 to 24 for professional development. At this level, annual evaluations are conducted on all staff. The provider must prepare a staff and parent handbook and set up classroom learning centers in the toddler and pre-K rooms. Staff must implement weekly lesson plans. The caregiver interaction scale must have a score between 2.0 and 2.5. 2 parent engagement strategies must be implemented. One of those can be a quarterly newsletter for parents. Parent-teacher conferences must be held at least once a year. It must be apparent that the director has compiled a budget which includes a profit-loss statement. The small business course was implemented in part to help directors who did not know how to do this. It is at star level 2 that the facilities must at least begin the process of applying to be a Texas Rising Star program. At star level 3, the professional development required is more defined. All bullets in star level 2 must be complete before a facility can move to the next level. This is also the level where the business course must be completed, as well as becoming a Texas Rising Star program. The site itself must hold monthly staff development activities for all staff members. At star level 3, there must be at least one staff member that has their Child Development Associate Certificate, CDA, or have 9 credit hours in early childhood or education. The average score for the ITers and ECHers must be between 3.6 and 4.0, and the Arnett Caregiver Interaction average score moves to between 2.6 and 3.0. The provider must establish an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding with another agency that will be a link to someone who can provide screening or intervention services. They must also develop a plan to integrate physical and nutritional standards. They must hold at least one annual parent workshop, create a resource center for parents, and send weekly notes home to parents. At Star Level 4, all employees must have a professional development plan and receive professional development in specified areas. The director must have a minimum of an associate's degree or the equivalent 60 hours. At least 15% of the staff must have a minimum of a CDA. The ITERS and ECHRS average score must be between 4.1 and 5.0, with the Arnett average score between 3.1 and 3.5. A written volunteer program for family members must be started, and the center should complete at least one item turned in as a suggestion from parents. For Star Level 5, the professional development hour requirement increases. The director must have a bachelor's degree or higher and must mentor another director for a minimum of 2 hours a month. The number of staff that must have a CDA or higher increases from 15 to 30%. The ITERS and ECHRS must have an average score of 5.1 to 7.0, and the caregiver interaction average score is between 3.6 and 4.0. Developmental assessments of children and the reporting of results to parents is an added bullet to this level. Centers will improve their child to staff ratios unless they already exceed minimum standards. The facility will participate in class evaluations and plan a transition program for children entering kindergarten. A newsletter goes from quarterly to monthly at this level, and parent conferences are held twice a year rather than once. To receive a star level rating of 5+, a child care center must have an accreditation from the National Association of Educators of Young Children. Currently, there is one NACCE accredited facility in Wichita Falls. However, it is at the Child Development Center located on Shepherd Air Force Base, and it is not accessible to the general public. There have been others in the past. Directors have discussed the stringent guidelines and high cost to getting the accreditation. The Early Childhood Committee did not want to eliminate this elite level, but wanted to have the opportunity to research other possibilities at both the state and national levels when a child care center has met all qualifications for Star Level 5 and still wants to pursue Star Level 5+. The fourth component of the Race for the Stars program is the technical assistance that will be available through the expertise of coaches, a behavior specialist, language facilitator, and social worker. The coach is the first one a child care provider interacts with upon becoming a Race for the Stars program. The coach will talk them through the steps and details of the 5 components of the Quality Rating Improvement System. They will work with the outside assessor and director of the facility to set up times for the assessments and will begin the weekly meetings with teachers and the director. Once the assessments are complete, the coach, assessor, and director will meet to go over the results. The coach and director will develop an improvement plan and then prioritize steps on a timeline. The coach will also begin working with teachers on the individual improvement plans and begin the modeling of specified strategies in the classroom. The classroom environment will be the main focus at the beginning to be sure the room is set up conducive to the best learning environment possible. The coach will recommend materials and supplies that may be needed to enhance the quality of teaching or interactions in the classroom. The behavior specialist will be working primarily in the two targeted neighborhoods to decrease vulnerabilities and increase strengths. However, the purpose is to make a systemic change in the targeted neighborhoods. So child care centers in Wichita Falls that serve children from either East Side or Linwood West will be included in this service. This is a holistic approach enlisting the key adults who have an impact on the child's life. This expert will conduct monthly trainings for anyone serving children who live in the targeted neighborhoods. The trainings will explain the developmental milestones that are important for a child to meet to be ready to enter kindergarten. The behavior specialist will screen children referred from the child cares that are exhibiting behaviors that are not developmentally appropriate. An intervention plan will be made and discussed with the key adults in the child's life. The behavior specialist will then meet with the parents and teacher quarterly to reassess the plan. Other meetings will be held as needed. The EDI, or Early Development Instrument, shows neighborhood vulnerabilities in the areas of language and cognitive development for both of the targeted areas. This domain was the second highest for East Side, with 15% of their children being vulnerable. Linwood had 17% of their children vulnerable in this area, which was the highest on this domain within the Wichita Falls area assessed by the Early Development Instrument. The language facilitator will administer pre- and post-assessments for children living in the targeted areas. It is these assessments that will be used to measure yearly progress on language development. The language facilitator will work with children both individually and in small groups when several children need additional assistance in developing a specific skill or to increase dialogue among the children. The language facilitator will provide training opportunities for child care staff and for families, and will do home visits for parents who are unable to attend monthly meetings. The language facilitator will meet quarterly with parents and child care staff to review progress of language skills. Professional development is inclusive of any person touching the life of a child. That could be child care staff, home daycare providers, directors, parents, grandparents, other relatives, friends, community members. The trainings may look differently, but there is something for everyone. The protective factors in the Strengthening Families model and the developmental ages and stages will be discussed in greater detail in the webinar on parent education. I am referring to them here because this is an example of the inclusive and holistic approach the School Readiness Grant is seeking to embody. It will also be important that the child care givers have access to any training materials that are utilized in trainings done throughout this grant. The Workforce Solution Child Care Center will house a library of these materials so caregivers have easy access. There are some trainings that are designed specifically for those who are working with the children of our community day after day. CIRCLE is a research-based state model developed by the Children's Learning Institute targeting literacy, numeracy, and social development. CIRCLE provides an in-depth training and philosophy of teaching 3s and 4s with a literacy-filled classroom environment and strong, higher-level interactions between the teachers and the children to build vocabulary. The Child Development Associate Certificate was at one time offered at Vernon College, but as state funding to provide the training dwindled, so did the numbers who desired to go through the course. As part of the movement for quality child care, the need for quality professional development was revisited. Head Start paraprofessionals are now required to have their CDA or its equivalent by the year 2013. The number of hours needed to move from one of our STAR levels to the next also increases the number of hours needed for professional development. This number is in line with the research the Early Childhood Committee did on what was appropriate. When stakeholders were brought to the table from Region 9 ESC Head Start, WFISD Head Start, Early Head Start, Vernon College, Workforce Resource Childcare, and directors of several child care centers, a plan was formed and put in place. As a result of the collaboration with these stakeholders, 51 participants met the criteria to walk the stage and receive recognition for completing 120 hours of both formal and informal coursework at Vernon College last fall and spring. Those participants are now in the final phase, which includes an on-site visit by a member from the Council of Professional Development. While in Wichita Falls, they will administer an assessment to each participant, look through an extensive portfolio, and open a sealed packet, which includes parent surveys and the observation results from the participant's CDA advisor while going through this process. The second session at Vernon College is now in progress with 18 people from Head Start and child care facilities that are a part of Race for the Stars or who work in child care centers in the targeted areas. The Directors Best Practices Exchange originally began with the directors of the Race for the Stars sites. After several months, it was expanded to include any director of a child care center that wanted to become a part of a networking system that would allow them to share celebrations, activities, strategies, upcoming events or trainings, or keep updated on the most recent legislation or licensing changes. Speakers are sometimes invited to share information on specific topics. This part has changed in the last 2 months to provide training that can be part of the mandatory professional development hours and will be discussed in the next slide. What has become a core group of directors from various child care centers will also become the mentors for others. As this group grows, it will be a piece of the sustainability plan for the future. To help increase financial stability, United Way will implement a shared services model for needs in the facilities. This is a relatively new concept in the child care field, but it will be a way that United Way can help providers share services such as equipment and curriculum, get discounts on bulk goods and services, and have access to full comprehensive support services for children and families. A cooperative will be formed with United Way acting as the lead to work with vendors to secure the best prices for bulk items and establishing a warehouse for providers to bring items that are in good shape but are no longer needed due to changes in size or age groups. Providers will join the consortium and be able to either swap or purchase at minimum amounts. Any money made from a purchase will go directly to the center donating that item. For the first 2 years, the cooperative will be an informal arrangement targeted to the child care centers involved in the Race for the Stars program. The alliance will eventually expand to support all participating child cares and informal providers. Star Level 3 requires evidence that the director has had a business course. Both MSU and Vernon College have given those in the past, but they were no longer available. In a partnership with Midwestern State University Small Business Development Center, a course meeting this step is now being provided. Topics have been selected from suggestions the directors have made in previous monthly meetings. It will not only include important facets of running a business, but will have a class to show directors how to market their facility through Facebook. This course will be open to anyone wishing to have more knowledge about running a child care or any small business. United Way and MSU Small Business Development Center will collaborate on finding and funding speakers. If you have questions, please call Trish Dillman at the North Texas Area United Way. Okay.